Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, about nerds, and today I'm hanging out with a couple nerds that I met in a castle in France playing Dungeons and Dragons. We've got Jay in the house as well as Cameron. Both of these guys were the organizers that put together D&D in a castle, and made some lucky gamers' dreams come true for playing Dungeons and Dragons in a castle. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Good. So far, so good.
Nice.
Doing well. Trying to recuperate from my international travels.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it? Is it something like for like every hour it takes a day or something to recover or some crap? I don't know.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't think anyone was on a reasonable sleeping schedule anyway. So
yeah,
all the calculations.
Not at all.
Well, when you go to any event, right? It's pretty much like you're getting up early and you're staying up late. But I feel like at the D&D in a castle, I was getting up even earlier than I would have, and probably staying up about as late as I would have. But
yeah, I warned some of the organizers because I play tested this concept of a 3-day retreat with some friends, and one thing I warned the DMs is that the players are going to want to play much more than you expect. Like people are going to be up in the morning, demanding to play, much earlier than usual because it's a continuation. You want to get to the next thing. You want to be, part of what's going on. And if it was a 3-day game, it's a little different. So it was cool to see that happen.
Yeah, one of the things that I really enjoyed was, and people had asked about, was the fact that you just stayed with the same DM the whole time. So it wasn't like a bunch of one-shots, but you had it was an actual campaign.
Yeah, well, you were on the player side, so it'd actually be really cool for us to hear what your experience was like, as an actual player at D&D in a Castle. It was cool. I know you joined kind of last minute, so maybe you didn't have a lot of expectations. You weren't part of the whole build-up and stuff, but it would be really cool to hear your experience. That
absolutely was just dropped right in, but it worked. It was like I got in late the first night, so I missed the session 0. So every once in a while, they were like, "That's the thing we covered in session 0."
I don't know whose fault that was that you missed session 0.
But no fingers, no blame. Things travel and things happen for sure. No. That was like the only thing that would come up in games every once in a while. Oh, that's the thing we covered in session 0, and then I would just role play it off as being a country bumpkin character. But I liked it. I liked the fact that you got to do a story arc compared to just playing with playing a bunch of one shots. Now, had you switched GMs, and you still played like the same character and the same story, that might have been cool. But all in all, I think the way it was done, I would have preferred, like, sure, it'd have been great to play with some of the other GMs, but at the same time, I just liked having that one story.
Yeah, it was a tough trade-off. Like, the amount of coordination that it would take to switch off DMs and maintain some continuity was actually kind of the plan that, Jay was working with at the beginning, and it got to the point where the coordination was just too tough. And it was one of the GMs said, you should just give the control to the DMs. Just let the DM run their own table. And I thought, that sounds like a good idea. Let's just give the power to the DMs. Like Rutenberg was running his table till like 5 o'clock in the morning some nights. Like they were just going around the clock. Like they just didn't leave the room. No comments on, the whether that's a good idea or a bad idea, but it was, certain tables were able to really run with their concept and do what they wanted. So I think there's some pros. But yeah, if you're really excited, people who got to play at Jeremy's table might have felt a bit lucky, or people that got to play at, their favorite DM. The allocation process was a bit difficult this year. Next year, what we're going to do is you're going to actually pick your DM when you register. And I think we're going to do first come, first serve. So that'll encourage early registration for people to try and get in if they have a particular DM that they want to play with.
I just want to let you guys know, if you happen to do this next year and you're looking, just skip over Jeremy Crawford and Maze Arcana, go right to GM Tim. He was the best the best dungeon master in the house.
What was his style like? What was GM Tim like to play with?
He was a lot of fun, and he was definitely a yes GM or a yes but or yes and GM. So whatever we came up with, he just rolled with the punches, and we broke his game a couple times, and he's just like, you know what, bio break, and we come back.
Yeah,
and then
I saw him going for some walks. You guys really you had him going. He was walking around the castle. I caught him. He was just deep in thought and looked like he was trying to solve world hunger or something. And I said, "Hey, Dylan, are you doing okay? Do you need something?" He's like, "No, they just broke my game. I got half an hour to put it all back together." And so he was. You could see the smoke coming out. But his feedback was that he just had an absolute blast with you guys, and it was also a bit of a dream for the DMs too, to be able to actually have a bit of a vacation where they got to play D&D for 3 days with people who really, cared about being there and were ready to throw themselves into the game. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm seeing a comment from Arch Villain Games in there. I know you've split in two. Ruty's table, they clocked in at 48 hours of time together, and then they said 40 hours of it was playing the game. And he ran a really odd game that I feel like you're gonna either love it or you're gonna hate it. Because they did the Inkwell Society thing where you kind of build your character as you go, starting off kind of like a commoner, and then you kind of gain your first level.
Yeah, overall I was really interested in how I was really blown away how different the games were. Like Ruty's, he was doing a concept game. People started at level 0. They helped each other build their characters through role play. Like it was really a slow burn, like a slow burn of all slow burns, to get going. Jeremy had people walking around the castle. It was a lot of LARP actually. So he had written his campaign to be in the castle, and the different elements in the castle were characters. So there's the castle was really interesting. It was built. It was actually a lot of, I understand now that it's over, I can say this, that it kind of technically wasn't really a castle. It was someone put in a tweet, they said, they were trying to get excited about D&D in a castle, but they're like, I can't, it's actually a fortified Lord's Manor. And I get it, to those of us that know the difference, it was a fortified Lord's Manor, but the balance of having a luxurious place to stay and the feeling of a castle, etc. We sold it as like a fairy tale castle. The next castle is going to be a keep. That's going to be a lot more, it's actually a medieval keep. It built 12th century, I think, medieval keep in Northumberland. We won't get into that yet.
Can we just agree there's just different kinds of castles? And we're like, you're going to play different kinds of castles. It had a gatehouse, for Christ's sake. That's a castle to me.
It had a what?
A gatehouse.
A gatehouse.
A gatehouse.
Yeah, it had a gatehouse. Like, it was pretty legit. And the size of the thing, like, I was kind of worried that it would look sort of like miniaturized when I got there, because it's hard to tell the scale because all the photos, everything's big. So when you see there's no banana for scale, like someone needed to put a banana in the shot. So it's not until you come around that corner and you see the castle kind of coming over the treetops, and everyone starts screaming in the van, like, yeah, oh, this is legit. So Jeremy really rolled with it, and he was there's a lot of little carvings and very detailed woodwork in the building, little gargoyles and stuff like that. And to him, they were all characters. So he would walk around and write his campaign, and fill in the blanks for the NPCs were all actually there in the castle. So his party was walking all over the place and cutting through, and Jeremy was just like, you could just see the glee in his eyes as he was LARPing his way through a castle with his custom written adventure. And he's really excited about maybe writing another one in advance for the next event. So he'll have one written for the castle ahead of time.
So now, Jay, you helped with getting the GMs on board and the Cripple God for the terrain. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So initially, I met Cameron through the 5th edition Facebook page, and he had put out a post asking for professional DMs and just to see what he could get a hold of, because he had an idea for this event, and it was initially when I initially messaged him, it was very much I want to put this together, sort of an exclusive retreat, so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's run with that. And then it was, well, let's start asking various DMs throughout the industry what they'll do, if they'd be willing to participate. You reach out to one, then another, and it starts snowballing. Eventually, boom, we've got Ruty and Satine from Maze Arcana. We've got Jeremy Crawford from Wizards of the Coast. Tim Modishaw, GM Tim, James Introcaso, Elisa Teague. Yeah, it was insane how it was just a cavalcade of support from within the industry for this, bringing this dream together. And then the sponsors were really responsive as well. Reaching out to Norse Foundry and Elderwood Academy, Archvillain Games for the DM screens, the custom DM screens, Cripple God Foundry for the terrain. Everybody was just so supportive with it. It wasn't really a hard sell. It's D&D in a castle for a week. I mean, you say that phrase and people are like, wow, that's amazing. But yeah, let's do it. What do we have to do to support it? And yeah, it took off from there, man. It was what, September, Cameron, that we originally talked?
I remember. I don't remember when the big decision was me and my sister sitting down over the Christmas break and having to say, like, are we really going to do this? Because actually the company Regency Encounters is my sister's company, and she loves being kind of behind the scenes. And she calls herself Chief Slytherin. So she likes being behind the scenes. But we had to decide if we were really going to bankroll this thing. So we had to put a lot of money up to get the castle and to actually put things in motion. And with this type of event, people have to have confidence that it's going to happen. So we had to really take the plunge. And it was terrifying. It was really it was a cold moment, when we had to have our spouses in the room and really decide that this was going to happen. And it turned out amazing. I mean, like Jay said, that we ran a Facebook ad to drum up to start selling tickets, and the Facebook ad was just a picture of a castle and it said D&D in a castle, and that was it. There was a link. And we sold out. The names obviously helped. Satine and Ruty from Maze Arcana were so supportive. They formed the core and really jumped in with both feet to help us, get avoid some mistakes and figure out how to make the DMs happy, and we're really awesome, and through their support as well and sort of endorsement, that also really helped open the floodgates. So between a good idea, some bold risks, and a lot of support from Maze Arcana and the other DMs, it really came together.
How long did it take to sell out the castle?
Well, once we figured out marketing, we launched the Facebook campaign in late December. We did a Facebook and a Google an AdWords campaign, and I think we spent total $1,200 on advertising, and it sold out that by the time the campaign was over. So I don't know, a matter of weeks. So it was a few weeks between getting it all in there. I mean, by that point we had Maze Arcana's involvement, we had Jeremy Crawford on it. So that was actually the big part is, the castle, okay, cool idea, but can you execute? And then seeing the production value of having those names on it. But when we launched the ad campaign, it was over. It was over pretty fast.
Yeah, but you know what? You can go to conventions and see those guys all fairly easy. They're very accessible. But there's a whole difference between getting them and cornering them in a castle, in a foreign country where they can't get away. No, it's such an intimate environment, and that's the part of the event that was really cool. And it wasn't none of the celebrity GMs would hide, right? They hung out after their games. They participated in the event. It wasn't you played the game with them and then they vanished, to their room or whatever. We all ate
together. That was a big part. But a lot of the feedback we got from the players was the favorite parts was, obviously the game, and close second was mealtimes. Mealtimes was really felt like family. It felt like we went to a family wedding every night. Especially when the rain let up and we got to eat outside. I really sitting in the back and had that I don't know, it felt like a big, the Facebook chat is still going, and we've got a WhatsApp group, and it's called D&D in a Castle Family. There's this real sort of family vibe. One of my favorite memories actually was on the first night. We got there and it was, obviously everyone was exhausted. I got trapped in Iceland for a day. It was weird. And then you know, just getting to the castle was this huge endeavor for me, and coordinating all the travel and everything. And so we got there, and we had the food was served outside, and it was this gorgeous spread, beautiful, like they do weddings there. It was very kind of like picturesque. I'm describing it to you, but you were there, but I imagine there are people watching who weren't there. And so we're sitting, and then we hear that there's a thunderstorm rolling in, and we're all eating dinner, and the staff is like, okay, well, let's pack up, let's go. And no one moves. Everyone just keeps eating, and it starts raining, and everyone is just sort of like eating and laughing and happy. And it's like, it's warm rain, like, because it's, you know, they had the hottest day of the year. It's 37 degrees Celsius, whatever that is in Fahrenheit. I'm Canadian. And then it starts just dumping rain. My plate is like filling with water, and I don't even care. I'm just like, the food was incredible. We're eating, and I'm sitting across from Jeremy, and beside Jeremy is one of the guests, and there's a few other people around it, and it starts really, and then it starts hailing, and the hail, it starts like knocking over wine glasses, and then it's like pelting us in the head. And one of the guests realizes that he's like sitting next to Jeremy, and he has this like question that he wants to ask him, you know, and where he's going to lose his chance. Because I think at most cons, like, that's kind of it. You get these like short interactions, right? Didn't realize he was going to be sitting next to him at dinner for 3 days, but he quickly turns and he asks them this question. I don't remember what the exact question was, but it was something about like the rules of flanking when you have a large creature and some in a hallway or something. It's asking this really intense question about the rules. And I look over at and Jeremy can't even see, like he's still eating dinner in the rain. So I guess he's feeling the same as me. He's just enjoying eating this plate full of rain and hail and food as we're all outside. He can't even, because his glasses are all wet. He can't see anything. He's looking across the table. He gets hit with this huge question. So I lean across the table and I say, Jeremy, can you tell me how you feel about the release of your last book and whether or not we'll penetrate the Asian market this year? Just start like grilling him with these like super hard strategy questions about what we're all just having a good laugh as we're eating our dinner in the rain. And that was the kind of thing where it was like, this is not a regular con. It was a really funny moment. Just sort of like, it reminded me when you said you know, you get them cornered. Like, we really do. He's there's nowhere to go. He's got to answer questions in the rain. And
the castle was like kind of far from civilization too. Like there was a village, right, but I don't know if I'd call that civilization.
It was really a village. Some people say, "Oh, go down to the village," and it's actually like, you know, in Europe that can mean a large town. No, this was like a hamlet. This was, you know, very small.
There was a bar, and the rest of the buildings around it that was sort of empty, and then there was a few houses. Yeah, it was a village.
Right.
Village.
And Jeremy, I missed it, but Jeremy gave a talk. Were either of you guys at the talk Jeremy gave? We got really good feedback about it.
Yeah, the Q&A.
Yeah, he essentially did a live sage advice.
This is great. I can just come here and ask you about my event because I was.
So what is some of the feedback you've gotten so far from people? Because we actually, within the next week or two, we have a video going up where I'm going to like share all my experiences and stuff. So try not to overlap too much.
Okay, I'm not going to tap all your content then. All right. So the feedback that we got was more organization. People wanted to see some more organization from us, which I get. Like we all have day jobs. We're running this. We're not a full-time events company, so that presented some challenges. There was a lot of things that we wanted to do, but we just like straight up didn't get to, like printing a schedule, or we had a disaster we had a lot of information from the castle that didn't turn out to be necessarily accurate. I don't want to blame anyone, but it's hard to figure out. It's in France. We're not there. I can't go there and say like, oh, what's the access to the printer like? What do we have these things? So we knew we had to have a bunch of stuff done beforehand. I had to have everything printed out. Just straight out run out of time and kind of paid for that. People did notice that it was hard to, we made a lot of promises. And next year, I'm telling you, we're going to nail it next year as far as getting that stuff done up front. So I'm airing the dirty laundry here. The downside was that it was really hard to organize an event in France while we're, here. But the feedback was, we had 95% customer satisfaction. I checked the net promoter score. We had a 75% net promoter score, which is just insane. That's like beyond world class.
That's huge.
That's like unheard of.
I don't even know what that is. What's a net promoter score?
A net promoter score is where you ask people the likelihood of them recommending your experience on a scale of 1 to 5. Sorry, I'm a product manager, so this is like my favorite type of thing to talk about. I don't know if this is what. I guess it's Nerdarchy. We can talk about anything nerdy, right? Net Promoter
Yeah,
Score.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised it's so low, 75%. I'm surprised it wasn't,
No, so what you do is you take the people who gave you a 5 out of 5,
okay.
and you subtract anyone that gave you a 3 or lower. Right? 4s are neutral. So if everybody gave you a 4 out of 4, 4 out of 5, you would have a 0 Net Promoter Score.
Okay.
Right? So it measures what percentage of the people that you surveyed are actually going to be raging fans and promoting your event on your behalf, right? And you can have a negative Net Promoter Score, which means that the majority of people are actually going to be detracting from your event, right? So it's a good way of measuring, when it's all said and done, are people, and so that tells you something about, despite the bumps in the road of having an event organized in France by a bunch of yahoos like us, it really came together and created something pretty magical. But what they liked about it was the games, the food, the atmosphere, and something that really inspired me to have the idea in the first place was the time to play. Like, when was the last time you had 3 days solid to play the same game with the same people at the same table? And I mean 3 days solid.
Yeah, like
potty breaks only, like people really played through.
the only complaint I could imagine, and not even a complaint, is that the only thing I could really imagine people saying is like going, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I would recommend it, but I can't do it again because it's a premium event. But I'm glad I did it. Like that. Yeah. That's the kind of like the feedback that I would expect from some people, depending, because I was there and I made friends with people, and some people are just like, I put it on my credit card. I'll figure it out later. And so they might still be paying for it by the time the next one comes around.
Well, 75% of people said that they were highly likely to come back next year. Yeah. And we've had a lot of people demanding to know when the tickets go on sale, because they're scared, because we're going to give people who came to the castle, early registration, a chance to register, because the DMs were really excited about playing with the same people again. Like Ruty wrote his for continuity. Like, people were really excited about playing with the same people, so we want to give the DMs the chance to play with the same people if they're able to make it. So, and also we have a table. I don't know. I hope I'm not spoiling any surprises here, but I won't say exactly who, but there's a table that's very seriously planning getting matching tattoos. So yeah. It's that kind of atmosphere, where people bonded to the point where some people said it was one of the best experiences of their life. And it was so I'm really excited and proud that, of what we did, and we're able to achieve that vision, like beyond what we even hoped. So that's some feedback we got, like just the bonding and the ability to play and have access to the DMs and just nerd out pretty hard for 3 days in a castle. Actually, another aspect is the couples. There was a lot of couples, a lot more than you probably see at a con, because it's a good excuse to spend your vacation budget, right? A lot of couples with, actually, I'm not sure if they had kids or not. They didn't bring the kids with them. A lot of couples, having an opportunity to go, and a lot of people booked a vacation afterwards, like traveled around France or went to Paris or something like that afterwards, and spent their time. And it was a great way to do something that they enjoy doing on a vacation as well. So those are some things that were a bit different about this con.
So there's some questions in the chat I want to start pulling out. So Master of the Game, will Nerdarchy Dave be one of the DMs next year? We don't know what. I don't think we're going to say yet what involvement Nerdarchy will have. I'm sure on Cameron's end there is a ton of stuff to figure out for these events going forward.
I had a lot of fun with you, Dave. And we got to have a little evening chat every night as we shuttled in the van. We got a chance to debrief and talk strategy, and I liked all your ideas, and I'd love to have you next year. Exactly how or what, I don't know, but somehow Dave will be involved. And if we get enough demands to play at Dave's table, it's going to be hard for me to say no. But we'll get the DM list sorted out soon and get it circulated. We know there's a lot of the question is, but who's going to be there? What's who are the names? What's the DMs? And you're a pretty popular guy, so it might be good to have you around.
So anything could happen. Stay tuned. There's also a link, as always, I put links in the description, and you can find some links to D&D and Castle so you guys can stay abreast of what's going on. Now, Nerder Doug wants to know, he manages our website for us. What was inspiring for a DM to kind of get a sense of what a medieval castle life was like? What were the nearby village was like, etc. So I guess he wants to know how the castle inspired you guys for like your own games and stuff going forward.
Oh, I wish we had one of the DMs here to answer from a DM perspective. I guess, Jay, you ran some night games. You were DMing.
Yeah, I ran some. Yeah.
What was it like?
Yeah, I ran some night games.
Castle.
I think for me, the most impactful thing was the journey there, getting from the airport to where the castle was, the countryside. As you're building your expectations as you travel along, you see these rolling hills, these little quaint farms and granaries and all sorts of stuff along the way. And then as you said before, when you crest that hill, and you know the hill that I'm talking about, when you look down and you see the rooftop of the castle coming up to the trees, the amount of excitement in the vehicle was like, oh my God, there's the castle. And then you get down into the village, and it's very secluded. It's very quaint. I mean, there's one sort of way in from the direction that we came, and then it branches off into the various portions of the village. And then right there, as soon as you go in, there's the gatehouse to the right and the entrance to the castle area. But for me, it was just walking the grounds and going around through the actual building itself. And that first day, until we had our first dinner, that's all I did. Is I just sort of explored. It's like a child at Christmas. You wake up in the morning and boom, you're in a castle. And I just walked around taking it in, and I thought that there's no way that anybody else could enjoy it as much as I did when I walked around. But then I saw Jeremy Crawford's face as he walked around and sort of looked at everything, and man, his amazement and awe as he absorbed all of this in was, it was very satisfying to see. Know that I wasn't the only one that was feeling this sense of.
Was it James or Jeremy that took his players downstairs, and they had to? I think it was James. They had to. They played out a scene that was actually in the basement. It was pretty cool. I say basement. I guess it's the dungeon. I don't know. The servant
hall. Yeah.
Yeah. There's this huge, and you realize like all of the halls have to be big enough for a horse to fit in. So you get a sense of like everything was built at this particular scale. And so he took the players down and made them act as their own figures. So they had to stand there, and they mapped out spacing and everything. So when they took a move, they had to move 30, and this is where they do the attack, and they actually spaced it out. And one of the things that happened is it changed the perspective that when you're looking at your battle map from above, you have this very detached sort of overview of where everything is, and this what do they call it? The situational awareness of everything that's happening at the same time. But when you're actually in place, you don't. You don't know what's behind you.
Yeah.
You're not paying attention that the bad guys went here or there, or whatever. You're focused on what you're doing, and you're not. And so what happened is they all ended up in a straight line in this really terrible formation as they're running in. And of course, they just got lightning bolted right down the middle. And it was funny because the kind of thing you would never allow to happen as long as you're min-maxing, or you're looking at things from a strategic perspective and in the omniscience over the figures, as opposed to being right there in the game. You're going to do a lot more dumb stuff. And I think for me, the lesson is that when you actually are in the space and you see what it's like, you recognize that I think I'm more willing now to let my player or my character make mistakes. And like, you're not always going to be in an optimal flanking location. You're not always going to be in perfect alignment. You're not always going to know that something is, creeping up behind you, etc. And maybe let it go. Maybe let it be like, look, there's some confusion in the game. Just because your character can do it doesn't mean that they have to always be, 100% on point. I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
There was also
that was Jeremy's group. It was Jeremy's group, because I remember Casey talking about it. Yeah, Casey was saying that she was in the hallway, and Jeremy goes to say, I'm casting a spell. And Casey, that's when she had her epiphany of where she was at in regards to relation to the rest of the party. And she looked down the hallway and back. She's like, oh my God, this is a lightning bolt. And sure enough, it was a lightning bolt that lit up the whole party in the hallway.
Yeah.
They're just lucky it wasn't AD&D where it would have hit the wall behind them and bounced back.
Yeah. They would have, too. It was about the right length.
They would have gotten it twice.
There was also a song written. Lauren wrote a song
amazing.
for the first half of James Introcaso's campaign, and it's actually really good. I'll get you the.
I was about to say the same thing. It sounds horrible, but it's actually good.
On YouTube or something, but he wrote a ballad for, and I think everyone should check it out. But just remind me to send you that.
And it's good. It's good that
it's actually good. Yeah,
it's good that their group was good at making music, because we totally trashed them in the marina combat.
Oh
yeah, it does.
So that was actually.
Are you gonna share about that, or are you gonna do that?
I will just allude to it that we did have a PvP situation, a champion style combat between two of the different D&D groups, and it was a ton of fun. I feel like they wanted to get more DMs involved, and they just couldn't because of everyone had their own storylines going. But James Intercosta and GM Tim figured out a way to make it work, and I think it was one of the highlights.
That's awesome, and I think I keep hearing a lot of these highlights, like the figs in the basement, the lightning bolt, or the PvP session, or the 5 a.m. or something happened in Ruty's table about skydiving from an airship. I keep hearing about, like, there's these stories that, and a lot of these things were really improvisational. Like, it would have been hard to plan. So I think next year what I'll try and do is we'll try and create the structure for how these things can happen, but giving the power to the DMs to run their table and improvise and collaborate and do those kinds of things led to some pretty awesome stuff.
And it seems like all the DMs use the castle in different ways, like where Jeremy did a lot of like this like pseudo LARP, and then you would also see Ruty and his group like marching around outside a lot of times through the rain or whatever, doing theirs.
March.
Well, they're moving as a group anyway.
I see.
And then, like, even our game, we would every once in a while, it'd be like the GM would be like, Tim would say, "Hey, grab a set of dice in your character sheet," and we'd go have a scene somewhere else in the castle. So
yeah, you guys did something in the chapel. I won't get into it. I saw you guys doing some cool stuff as well.
Yeah, we did too. Chapel and the gatehouse, which both was really cool. Maybe a little bit into the village. So that stuff was really cool.
Yeah, and I think if we tried to say, like, look, every table has to write a song, or every table has to do X, Y, Z, or try to create that structure, I think people would feel really, might get claustrophobic in the game. But I think it was open enough to allow those things to happen. So
the Mighty Hob wants to know, is this a once-a-year event?
Right now it is. It was mentioned, the idea of doing a summer and a winter castle. Honestly, that kind of terrifies me at this point, like as far as having the bandwidth to do that. But I have a feeling that there's so much enthusiasm for this event that it might have to happen, and I might be forced kicking and screaming to do 2 castles a year. But I have a family, and getting the time to go and just dedicate a whole week to this event is hard. But so I'm going to try, and we're experimenting with the next year's. We're going to do a family vacation at the same time, and rent a house in next year we're going to go to Northumberland in England, in a castle called Langley Castle, which is gorgeous if you want to check it out. And it's in a town called Hexham, which is a cool old medieval town, which has a lot of stuff to check out as well. So we're going to try and combine it with a family vacation and see if we can do that. And if we can do it, it might open us up to doing more than one a year, something like that. But either that, or I'm just going to have to scale and figure out how to do 2. But
how about spring and fall instead of winter and summer?
Well, not a lot of aside from the castle in France was good for outdoor dining, but I think in places like Northumberland or Scotland I think they're more designed for winter, and no one really needs to go outside anyway when you're playing D&D for 3 days.
Fair enough.
I just thought it would be cool to have like a big Scottish castle with snow on it, and you know, big fireplaces with, you know, okay, maybe fire's a bad idea.
No one can get in or no one can get out because they're snowed in from the airport. Or
I think
there's
you're
a lot
describing The Shining.
Yeah. There's a lot of logistics that probably have to be worked out there. There's problems with winter travel.
Yeah, that part of the world, if you go in spring and fall, it's just going to be rain and rain.
Nice. Perfect.
I'd rather have sun and snow.
I just know it was hot. The heat.
Who
is
was
not my
asking the
friend.
question about the once a year?
The Mighty Hobbs.
Did they?
It was just they just wanted to know if it
Did
was a
they
once a year
want
event.
twice a year? Or were they hoping? What are they?
It'll be in the
hoping for
YouTube
monthly.
chat.
Well, monthly might be a bit much. Could you make that happen? Just once a month. That's it, Cameron. You just got to go to a castle. You'd run out of castles.
I think at that point we just buy the castle. No,
Yeah.
there's a castle.
Yeah, just go buy a
There's
castle,
for
Cameron.
sale
There you
for
go.
about 7 Yeah. There's one for sale for about 17 million euros that I got my eyes on. It's the one where Richard the Lionheart died. Gorgeous castle in Limoges, but I'm short about 16.99 million euros.
So what you're saying is you're almost there.
That'd be a hell of a Kickstarter. I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
You're
yeah.
saying there's a chance.
Yeah. Help us.
There's a chance.
Well,
So if anyone's
briefly,
got 17 million euros lying around, we can do it every week.
we did entertain running the Nerdarchy Kickstarter for
Sorry,
us
I'm
to
getting
buy
a
a
terrible
Mac.
connection. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm in this really remote part of the world of technology called Silicon Valley.
Yeah. So I think we're still going, but it's you've kind of faded in and out a little bit. It's always all of a sudden too.
Yeah, I was complaining that I'm in a remote part of the world with no technology, known as Silicon Valley.
There you go. You're back now. You're good.
There we go.
Yeah, and
For
the
some
audio
reason.
came through, and then the video caught up. So
Okay. So I keep making the same joke over and over. That's why you guys aren't laughing.
So we were going to do our own Kickstarter early on, and that was buy Nerdarchy a mech, because there's a company in Japan for like 1.2 million or something. They'll build you a mech. I was like, yes, and if we could raise
Wow.
2 mechs, then we could fight.
Then you could charge money to fight the mechs to raise money for a castle.
Oh yeah, nice.
There you go.
Can we get a mechanized castle?
At
Hey, I told
that
you.
point, it's a transformer.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. I told you they got a castle in Ohio, man.
Yeah. What are they doing with a castle in Ohio?
I don't know. I don't know why there's a castle in Ohio, but I just know we did an event there, and they're like, yeah, they told us where there's this castle, and I think they do gaming stuff there. And I've also seen like bed and breakfasts popping up that are like D&D themed as well. There's one in Maryland. Do I still have you guys? You're just kind of looking around.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool.
I'm here. I was looking up castles in Ohio.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I lost audio there.
No worries. So Jay, you spent quite a bit of the time building terrain pieces for people.
Yeah. Putting together different terrainscapes. I did a huge one for your group, for Tim, the maze that you guys were in. But yeah, the Cripple God terrain turned out to be really, really good. Really well detailed, finely crafted. And it was, I think it worked out really well. How did you feel in regards to, at least with your group, the arena that was set up with the sort of the terrain obstacles? Did you like that in regards to did it make an impact with the combat?
Actually it did, and I liked all the terrain, and I think like everyone enjoyed discovering the secret doors in the terrain, because you're like, oh wait a minute, that moves.
Yeah, that's one of the cool little features on it. They have a little on part of the dungeons, they have a little secret door that can pop open that you can sneak through into a different portion of like the maze you guys were in. So yeah, we actually had, I think in one portion of the maze that I built for you guys, there's one hidden behind a wardrobe that I don't know whether or not you ever found, but.
Wait a minute. I think we did, because I think we disintegrated that. Not because of a disintegrate spell, but because everything was really old and it just fell apart when we would touch it. Oh, you know what though? Know what actually happened too? Prior to that, like one of our players just cheated and cast Pass Wall, and he just walked through all the walls.
The bane of my dungeon crawl existence as a DM, Pass Wall.
Yeah.
Okay, there's your pass wall. You've gone 40 feet into solid rock. Enjoy. I don't know how that works.
little vindictiveness. Do we got you back, Cameron?
We at least have a still. He's pondering on coming back.
That is very much what it looks like. So Nerder Doug says Curse of Strahd in a Romanian castle.
Nice.
Get behind that. A horror themed. Although I think Jeremy's group, I think the adventure he ran was kind of a horror gothic theme.
Yeah, no, it was set in Barovia. And one of the really cool things is when Strahd finally made his appearance, I think it was on the final night, as they were doing it, he announced the appearance of Strahd, a bat flew into the dining room where they were at. Like nice. A real bat flew into the room that they were at within the castle. So yeah, it was pretty epic. That's something you're not going to find at a con.
That's for sure. And I suspect if you went into the attic, you would have found a lot more bats.
Oh yeah. So we did some initial exploration around, and there were some rather spooky areas upstairs.
Everyone is giving all kinds of suggestions in the chats for where they should do it. Fragginator, do one in the Undercity of Seattle, Washington. So it looks like someone has cast banishment upon Cameron, but we will sally forth anyway. Yeah, you probably had a better perspective than me as to what was going on in the different groups. Do you know the gist of each of the games that was being run?
Yeah, so like with Ruty's group, it was very much a very cozy feel. They set up in the sort of gaming room, for lack of a better term. There's a billiards table in the room, a big, huge fireplace, and nice, cozy couches and stuff. They set up in there, which was, given how late they ran and all the very cozy furniture, worked out fairly well for them. Again, he used the Inkwell Society model, starting off as a commoner. I think by the second day they had their characters to level 1. But yeah, it to see that kind of character development is a really interesting experience. And like there's actual trials that they had to go through in order to level up their character, like the aforementioned the jump out of a plane. So because it was set in Ebron, so the jumping out of the plane and all the shenanigans that ensued from that, with the capabilities of featherfall. They had these little stones that had the ability to do featherfall, and one of them accidentally triggered it early while they were on the plane, so it didn't work. But it ended up working out at the end. Let's see. Jeremy, like you said, was in Barovia, and it was very much a sort of a lady of the house. It wasn't centrally focused on Strahd, but Strahd ended up making an appearance. I mean, how can you have Barovia without Strahd? Let's see. James had a storyline that I really want to try as soon as he gets it out, which is a post-apocalyptic what if the adventurers failed in Rise of Tiamat. And he had maps and everything for it, and just seeing what I saw from the short amount of time that we were there, that's probably the one that I'm most intensely interested in. because I've mentally exercised, in regards to what it would have been like. Because you see these adventures, these hardback modules that come out, and you think, okay, well, what would the world be like if Tiamat won and came out? And he does it, and it's amazing. And it's the struggle of fighting back after Tiamat has laid waste to Faerun. I mean, there's one portion of the map on there that is the ruins of Neverwinter. So, Tim, unfortunately, I didn't get to see a lot of his, so I wouldn't be able to comment as much on his. Elisa and Satine, again, both very involved. Elisa, of course, being renowned for her puzzles. There's a lot of puzzles and mystery involved in her campaign. Satine sort of broke the mold when it came to Ebron and did a level 14 campaign just to see if it would work, and it worked out really well. Satine's group was amazing. Some of the stuff that they came up with was absolutely inspiring. So, yeah. Hey, Cameron, there you are.
Hey, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I had to switch to mobile here.
Well, we've got you back now.
Now I can do this.
Whoa! Yeah. I think from what Satine said, basically, the stuff that they did in Ebron will not be canon because they kind of broke Ebron a little bit.
They broke Ebron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was time traveling involved.
There was definitely some time traveling. Although the players, the party themselves, I believe what they said is they fixed Eberron. So there's a little bit of difference of opinion.
They didn't break it. They fixed it.
A matter of perspective,
Yeah, absolutely. So while you were struggling with the technology, Jay was kind of giving an overview of what the different tables that we're doing.
Yeah, I saw, I just jumped in. I caught Elisa's, when you're talking about Elisa, a lot of the players really enjoyed the different, they really had to think their way through the game. And every time I had to cut through their room, they had these big rooms to play in. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's one of the things that I don't know if got captured well in the photos and stuff was that, people stayed in a very large, comfortable room for the whole game. But every time I cut through Elisa's room, I always saw a lot of head scratching and thinking and pacing and such. So I think that was you could tell there was a different type of game going on there. People really like that.
And one thing I'll say about Elisa's group is if you wanted a good pun, man, there were some classics that came out of there. There was one point where an NPC approached the party to sell scrolls via an overcoat. And so he opened up the overcoat and he had scrolls hanging down. And one of the characters was like, "So you're trying to sell us Scrollexes?"
Nice.
They got inspiration for puns.
Yeah.
And people respond to incentives.
Yeah.
But,
absolutely, they do. So
do you want to talk about next year, or what did I miss?
We could talk about next year, or one of the things I would like to say, though, is it seemed like to me, no matter what DM players had, no one seemed like, oh, I wish I would have gotten this DM or that DM. It's like, to me, everyone seemed really satisfied with the table they were at and the game they were in. Like, I don't know if they started that way, but by the end, it definitely seemed like everyone was jiving and like, no one felt cheated that, I wasn't at Jeremy Crawford's table.
Yeah. I think the satisfaction. So I asked in the exit survey what people's, were people happy with the DMs, and people were even happier with the DMs than they were with the event. So overall, a lot of satisfaction with the DMs in the games, which is awesome.
Yeah, I felt like that was like a really strong area. So yeah, if you want to talk about next year, sure.
Sure. So next year, I mentioned the castle, Langley Castle. Tickets will go on sale soon. We'll post the DMs. Watch this space for Nerdarchy's name. And one thing we're going to do a little different is because the price has to go up Unfortunately, as far as this event was, from a gaming perspective, it was a huge success, but from a financial point of view, it was not so successful for our first time. But that's okay. We'll get it right next time. So everyone got a bit of a discount this year. Well, that's the way I'm seeing it. Next year is going to be a little higher. But what we're going to do is we're going to separate accommodations from the actual game registration. So the game registration, which includes things like rental fees and travel and all the upfront costs, etc. And then people can pick what level of accommodation they want. So people who want to save a bit of money can stay in a simpler room. And the castle is run as a hotel through a lot of the year. So they have good, good way of bringing together rooms. And to make it even cheaper, because I know there's some people this year that were worried about not being able to come next year, and we mentioned that the price would be higher. What we're going to do is we're going to have some yurts placed outside. So we're going to have basically glamping outside for a subset of players, which will help keep the price down so that people still pay the same registration fee. They still get to play the games in the castle, but they get to sleep medieval style in a yurt in the fields. And so
everyone has the same registration fee. That's going to be across the board, and right. and that covers, like you said, the game transportation. Did you say?
Oh, sorry. I said. Sorry, I was going a little too detailed. I was saying that the cost to us as the event,
okay, yeah. It all got jumbled up in my head.
Right, like we'll have the overhead captured in the we'll worry about all our event in the registration fee, but then we'll let the players save money or spend more depending on what they want to do in the accommodation package. So we'll split the registration accommodation. Registration will include game, food. We're going to do food all inclusive next year, and your swag. There's some pretty good swag this year. I can't believe we didn't talk about the swag. The swag was amazing, I thought. Anyway, everyone got a set of gemstone dice this year. We got everyone got hex chests. So the gemstone dice were from Norse Foundry. There's some beautiful different dice, amethyst, carnelian, and picture jasper. Whoa, was that the carnelian in there?
That is the agate, the pink agate.
Oh, I like those ones. So we got gemstone dice, hex chests from Elderwood Academy, and Norse Foundry also provided metallic dice. So metallic dice and gemstone dice from Norse Foundry and these hex chests. And there's also some other gifts for the DMs. So cool swag, awesome event, food included, and then the accommodation package will be separate for next year. And yeah, I wish we had some. I know the dates of the event. Or I should know. Let me say I should know the dates of the event.
It's like 30th to the 5th or something like that. 30th to the 4th.
Same week as it was this year. 30th to the 5th. That sounds right.
There's the metal dice.
30th to the 5th. 4th of July weekend. It's for some reason there's not a lot of conferences going on 4th of July, so we took it. So it's 4th of July week. I know it's hard for some people to travel on that week, but it's also a good time for the DMs. There's not a lot of other conferences going on. Yeah, we'll have the list of DMs and registration dates opening soon. So watch this space. And also, I'd love to hear ideas. Anyone wants to, I think, contact at theindianacastle.com. We'll get you through to me or Tara or one of the organizers. And if people have ideas what they want to do or questions or anything, you can go to theindianacastle.com and subscribe there, and you'll get first notification. So theindianacastle.com is probably if you're going to take away one thing, take away theindianacastle.com. Go there, just subscribe to the email list. I don't spam. In fact, people have told me I don't email enough. So you'll only get the most critical updates, such as when registration opens, so that you can race to your credit cards and sign up for this once-in-a-lifetime experience. There's
a link in the description, as always, so you guys can stay in touch with what's going on. Nerder Doug said you could base it off the lifestyles in PHP. Save some money with the squalid package.
Squalid. I don't know about that.
That's the yurt. That must be the yurt. Staying in the yurt.
That's the yurt. Well, I called it glamping. You can call it the squalid package.
Yeah.
I was actually. It would be cool. I don't know if anyone would do this. We probably won't do this year, but I thought it would be cool if the yurts were the whole party. That you sleep in the same yurt as the party that you play with. For the real hardcores, right? You could have this like immersive around the clock experience.
I don't know. I don't know if I could see Ruty doing it. I know he was in the military and all, but I don't know how much of that lifestyle is still in him.
Ruty would be my bet for the one who would do it. He's all about doing what it takes.
I just think it's funny picturing Ruty camping with his signature tie and vest.
Yeah, that's true. That might not fly. He might need the space to get prepped. But he's got two sides. He's pretty tough. Okay, I'm getting kicked out of this room. Actually, I'm at work.
Oh no, you're working. You're working. The Mighty Hob wanted to know what were the costs ended up being unexpected for you. So what were some of the unexpected surprises and challenges?
Well, I'm gonna sneak out of here. Just gonna look for another room here. Live. No, I haven't.
See if you pass your stealth check.
Yeah, I'll go in here. Hide in here. No one will find me. Unexpected stuff was just stuff going wrong. Like Ruty and Satine's flight got canceled last minute, and we had to rebook them a train all the way from London. That was one thing. Rental cars were a disaster. Renting a car in Europe is just a terrible idea. So come prepared. So we ended up having to rent extra vehicles and move things around. I had visa problems. This wasn't really related to the event, but just to make things more fun. I'm Canadian living in America, and my visa was expiring while I was at the event. So I actually had to leave early so that I could be back in the country, which made things really fun and exciting, stuff like that.
No lie, Cameron actually ended up in a cage when he got back here.
Right. I try and stay away from politics, so I'm not touching that.
But yeah, I can only imagine first time running an event like this is going to be things. I know Tara has done other things, but just not on this scale and scope.
Not on this scale. So,
Cameron had also mentioned like next year there being an optional extra day where they're gonna actually do like a masquerade ball the last day or something.
Yeah, that's something that Regency Encounters is playing around with in regards to that. Here he is. He's back.
Oh, did I disappear?
Briefly, but you're back now.
But I'm back. Yeah, so Regency Encounters, Tara's company, does these anachronistic reenactment balls in Canada. They do a few every year, and they sell out, and there's a few hundred people that go to them and do a really good job. So a lot of people are asking of maybe doing a masquerade ball at the next event. So we'll definitely look at doing that. Where we should probably do a follow-up where I'll let you know some of the details once we've got them hammered down. But we're talking about doing an extra day where we're going to call it live action day, and maybe people can play D&D if they want, but there'll be more activities for doing some other fun stuff while we're in a castle, escape rooms, maybe a murder mystery day, a masquerade, stuff like that.
Should probably just do a full month just to cover all the bases.
Do a what?
Full month just to cover all the bases.
Yeah.
Full month. Yeah, I like the way you think. Yeah.
So it's the only way we're going to be able to cover most of it.
Can you imagine the ticket prices? That'd be amazing. It's a big lesson for us this year. And I know this sounds really dumb, but castles are expensive.
That was the big takeaway.
That is the big takeaway.
We never knew, we weren't expecting, but castles, they're freaking expensive.
They're expensive. They're freaking expensive. They're huge. They take a lot of staff to run. There's, but they're equal parts awesome. So that really helps.
I have to agree. It was great. We're past the hour mark, and you're at work. So if either of you have any final things before we go.
Somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm supposed to be somewhere. That's pretty funny. You guys saw me get kicked out of a meeting room at work.
Yeah, you're supposed to be running a meeting somewhere.
Probably, actually.
They're like, where's Cameron? I don't know. Isn't that him on his YouTube channel? What's he doing there? Wait a minute. I know that room. We can find him.
He's talking to a bunch of nerds.
He's somewhere in the building.
Well, it was great chatting with you. I'd love to come back sometime and tell you more, and hang out. Nerdarchy, but you guys were really supportive of the event. It was awesome having you there. Look forward to working with you again next year, and maybe we'll do another
maybe I can share more once we get closer to the event.
Sounds like a plan. And Jay, anything you want to say before we go?
Man, it was an absolute pleasure having you. I'm glad we were able to get something worked out last minute to get you aboard. Yeah, just love D&D. That's all there is.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, guys, for hanging out with me today. We'll have to do it again sometime, especially as we get closer. And thanks, everyone who's been hanging out with us in the chat today. Very much appreciate you guys. And until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.